Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Jessica Clemens, and this is a breakdown of Warner Brothers' latest adventure, Wonka. This movie did such a great job of bringing whimsy to my cold, dead heart. It's a bundle of fun and surprisingly, yet unsurprisingly, very charming. The talent, the writing, choreography, and homages. Did I mention choreography? Yes, because it's a musical. What feels pretty spontaneous is actually very ordinary for a man who dreams of being the world's best chocolatier. So here I'll be breaking down Wonka and exploring all those Easter eggs and details you might have missed. And please support our channel further with our new For All Time Always shirt with Loki with the Yggdrasil World Tree at nerdriot.shop. We love it. You're gonna love it. Everybody's gonna love it. Okay, let's get into it. The movie opens with the production logos and a little acoustic lullaby rendition of Pure Imagination, and that song makes me want to bawl my eyes out, but we'll save it to the end of the movie. Additionally, this is the first time I've seen the Roald Dahl Story Company production credits since Netflix acquired them a couple years ago. I think on the Wonka bar, the W in the middle is of course for Willy Wonka. That's Matilda to the left. Below is a mouse. I think that's for the witches. The top right is Mr. Fox, and the potion to the top left is probably George's Marvelous Medicine. We all tried taking a stab at that in New Rockstars. You can also see a giant peach from James the Giant Peach in the bottom right corner. Gina found that because I can't see in that maze. When we meet our young Willy Wonka, played by Timothée Chalamet, he's got his iconic top hat, cane, and purple suit. Fun fact, the costume designer for this movie is Lindy Hemming, who also did costume design for The Dark Knight. It's also not surprising that he somewhat resembles the Joker. Timothy mentions in an interview with BBC Radio 1 that since he's the young Wonka who hasn't made it yet, his outfit must be battered and tattered and bruised, like the Joker's. Wonka jumps off the ship, waving goodbye to his fellow shipmates, and rides into town on Moreau and Phil's wine truck, because we all know candy is dandy,
but liquor is quicker.
See what I did there? I'm full of imagination. This scene where he spins on the pole is when he notes in the same BBC Radio 1 interview he pulled his shoulder and how grueling and physically challenging it was to do a musical, but equally as rewarding. And when you see this movie, you see how rewarding it can be. We then see Wonka's competing chocolate, Slugworth and Fickelgruber. Also, how funny is the dance scene when we see he's actually dancing alone? It's just hilarious. This is also where we're introduced to Officer Adable, played by Kobna Holbrook Smith. I love how old and jaunty everything looks. This movie is set 25 years before the events of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which was set in the movie in 1971, so it's the late 1940s. The production design is led by Nathan Crowley, who also worked on The Dark Knight and did production design for The Greatest Showman. Paul King, the writer and director, said that that was a really beautiful movie that was shot on a really tight budget. He really pulled it all off. And David Hammond was also one of the producers. He did Barbie and Harry Potter. So with that combined willpower and Willy Wonka, I assume there was a lot of world building going on here. When Wonka's sad but still optimistically walks down the stairs in the beginning number, he does the Gene Wilder iconic walk down and walk back up the steps he did during Pure Imagination. He then flips the coin and it lands in the sewer drain, reminding us how Charlie found the coin in the sewer drain, and that coin got him his winning ticket later in the movie. Then he's approached by Bleacher, played by Tom Davis, and this scene feels exactly like Slugworth coming up to Charlie in the original movie, like he's trying to sink his teeth into this innocent boy. Then we meet Miss Scrubbit, played by Olivia Colman, and gosh, I love it. This character feels exactly like Miss Lovett from Sweeney Todd. They're both shady women, always offering and drinking gin, and they both have old-timey orphans. The silliness of how long the contract is probably related to the original film's long contract that no one could read, especially with that fine print being too small to read. Just like in the original film where the gates open at 10 a.m., the gates open to the Gallery Gourmet at the same time, 10 a.m. Little nods. Wonka pulls out his mother's homemade Wonka chocolate bar, what kept him making chocolate, dreaming about chocolate, and wanting to be a chocolatier. The homemade packaging is made with the same font we saw in the 71 movie. Fun fact and side story, when I was a little child, I went to Toys R Us, got a Wonka bar, and it had a golden ticket inside, and I told my mom, and she made me cry because she wouldn't take me to the chocolate factory, and I lost the chance at meeting Willy Wonka. So just next time great films like this want to make merch for heavily whimsical children, think twice about it, because it was soul crushing when I found out it wasn't a real place. Then we hear Timothy's iconic line from the trailer.
Scratch that, reverse it.
We know that comes from the original movie when Willy Wonka ushers all the guests into the factory.
Strike that. Reverse it.
Wonka then plays his little flute to fix his pitch. Later, we see Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa use it as a call out to Gene Wilder, playing that bad boy after every child was in danger. Wonka sings his song You've Never Had Chocolate Like This, where he describes finding these hoverflies in Mumbai and they lay chocolate like eggs. Willy Wonka always mentioned his days traveling to find the Oompa Loompas in Loompaland in the original movie, and in the 2005 one, he was always traveling to find the next best flavor. Then we meet the real competition. We got Prognos, played by Matt Lucas, Fickelgruber, played by Matthew Baton, and Slugworth, played by Patterson Joseph. They're wearing green, yellow, and blue, and I couldn't get that out of my head. It feels like they're wearing the matching wardrobe to like the Lollipop Guild from Wizard of Oz. They might be my favorite villains villains of all time, and they're having so much fun in these roles. I love them so much in this movie. Then we know what this scene reminds us all of: the fizzy lifting drinks.
They fill you with gas, and the gas is so terrifically lifting that it lifts you right off the ground like a balloon.
They even make a comment how they're gonna fart it out later, a different gas that the fizzy lifting drinks gives you. A mysterious vault teeming with danger and wonder has opened. Are you ready to embark on this secret journey to explore the relics and ruins? Now Magic the Gathering is letting you take on the role of legendary explorer Lara Croft with their new Secret Lair collaboration. This Secret Lair drop is awesome. It's got fan favorite cards like Shadowspear and Academy Ruins with Tomb Raider inspired art, plus an all new mechanically unique Lara Croft Tomb Raider card. This drop is available exclusively through the Secret Lair website. It's got 6 cards total, plus a treasure token. And even better, the Secret Lair Tomb Raider drop is available now. Just click the link in the description below and get yours today. Then we're introduced to the Chief of Police, played by Keegan-Michael Key, who's in the pockets of the evil chocolatiers. But his character is also very fun, and you can tell he's improvising the entire time. We're also introduced to the rest of the team: Jim Carter as Abacus Crunch, the accountant; Natasha Rothwell as Piper Benz, the plumber; Raki Thakra as Lottie Bell, the telephone operator; and Rich Fulcher as Larry Chucklesworth, the comedian, who I think is actually a comedian or just does a million comedic roles. He should be familiar to you. So if you sign the contract without reading the fine print, you have a debt to Miss Grubbit, and you must pay that debt by cleaning all of her laundry. Abacus says you're on suds, and that should immediately remind you of this scene.
Swifter than eagles, stronger than lions.
But the entire washing clothes scene should remind you that Charlie and his mom have a heart-to-heart washing clothes the same way. Then, later, making it into a working Rube Goldberg machine should remind you of the everlasting Gobstopper machine. He even uses winter coats because the concoction is too cold, or a shoe when it needs a kick. Then we hear Sweet Tooth, which is literally my favorite song on the soundtrack. I love this song. When Wonka runs out of milk to make chocolate, Noodle offers a bottle sitting on someone's doorstep, which Wonka is heavily against because it's stealing, and we all know how he feels about thieves.
You stole fizzy lifting drinks.
Also, Wonka says, A, that's stealing, and C, Willy Wonka doesn't use cow's milk, showing he's still just very illiterate. Then we meet the security guard of the zoo, played by Simon Farnaby. Love him in Ghost. He's also the co-writer for this movie. The Big Night Out chocolate is like the 3-course meal and a stick of chewing gum that Violet Beauregard consumes in the 71 film. Wonka has this weird connection to flamingos throughout the entire movie. At the zoo, they mention how flamingos don't fly because they need someone to show them, which could be a metaphor for how Wonka needs assistance and his eyes are opened by his friends. Paul King mentioned in a Letterboxd interview, Willy arrives and believes if you tell him to work hard, everything will fall into place. But of course, it's not always that straightforward. He wanted to show and relate to everyone. In this way, Wonka can. It's not always going to work out, and that's okay. Sometimes you need a secure support system to get you through it all. Another song that I really love is Willy and Noodle's Zoo song. It's so precious. I'm obsessed with the sequence too, not only because it reminds me of the Cheer Up Charlie song from the original movie and how his mom is trying to cheer him up. This also resembles the ending of the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie when the rocket elevator comes out of the ceiling. I might be reading too much into this scene, but in this scene where the chief officer is dunking Wonka's head into the fountain, he says, "You understand me?" Wonka yells back, "There's water in my ears," which reminds me of this scene of someone yelling at Wonka and him just outright ignoring that child. We also see Wonka's been handing out these lifetime supplies of chocolate vouchers. He said he'd give Noodle her share going forward. Then we meet our Hugh Grant Oompa Loompa, and this Oompa Loompa is very sophisticated. He then starts doing the Oompa Loompa song and dance, and it's pretty cute watching Hugh Grant do all of this. Then he gets the best line. He exits saying, "Good day." "I said good day, sir." It's probably everyone's favorite line from the original movie, the most iconic one. In his upgraded Willy Wonka hat and coat, he walks the red carpet like he did in the original movie, guiding his followers inside. They tried to do the Gene Wilder roll-in. The role itself is nearly impossible, Timothy said with BBC Radio 1. He assumed in the original they built a hole in the ground for Gene Wilder, but they couldn't make that scene happen. The little Wonka candy shop feels like a mini version of what the factory looks like in the original movie. Edible flowers, grass, cups, and buckets. It's the same whimsy even when a child is picked up and lifted to some treats like Veruca was in the movie. They eat clouds here, and I just love this. I love this too much, and the song is so sweet. Paul King, how dare you? In Noodle's flashback story, she's tossed down a laundry chute as a baby to be orphaned, which feels loosely like Veruca Salt being launched down the trash chute that leads to the furnace. When Noodle and Wonka are left to drown in chocolate, it makes you wonder, if this is the prequel to Willy Wonka Gene Wilder, shouldn't Gene Wilder have been like really caring about Augustus Gloop, seeing as he's been in the exact same situation. It's kind of crazy. And he does not care what happens to Augustus in the next film. We learn the secret to the best chocolate is who you share it with. And in a real Mean Girls moment, Wonka Katie Herons this thing and splits up the chocolate amongst his best friends. It's the best chocolate he's ever had. And cue my tears starting to rise up. I can't do this. Then he says he wishes it could last forever. I'll call out to his next biggest invention, the everlasting gobstopper. And that's meant to last forever and be very affordable for everybody. Then yes, this is when I started crying in the movie. The entire gang helped Noodle find her mom. Noodle would daydream of her mom living in a house full of books, waiting at her at the front door to give her a big hug, and exactly that scene happens. Her house full of books is the local library where she also lives. Oh God, I said, God, no! And I started crying. I started crying in the theater, and I was seeing this by myself. Throughout the movie, Scrubbit calls Noodle a bookworm or says she lives in her books, and we know why, because she's just like her mom and she likes reading. Oh God, she's me. She's me for real. Then we get Timothy's acoustic version of Pure Imagination, which made it worse. I was like, stop this! I was crying like crazy. Then the Oompa Loompa says another famous Gene Wilder quote, so shines a good deed in a weary world. Hugh Grant got the best lines. The pre-Wonka factory is beginning. He builds, or I mean, this could also be him imagining, but I think he's building. But he's got the chocolate river and yellow teacups from the original movie. And that's it for my breakdown on Wonka. I really love this movie. It's perfectly silly. It's very whimsical, and it gives you the same feeling Paddington did. It worked very well, and I watched it twice and would see it again. The songs are catchy, and it just all works. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Lulu_Clemens. Follow New Rockstars and subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching. I said good day.